The amount of times I have asked myself, why does he do that? I would be a rich woman if I had $1 for every time I have. But now I have an unsuspecting boyfriend who I can ask consistently, why do men do this? So I'm going to start a series where I ask him the questions that all the girlies have as to why men do what they do. Are they really as clueless as we think they are? Or perhaps are they more calculated? And I'll start with this question. So here's my first question. Why do men wait until the wife is out the door, the girlfriend is out the door, she's given him multiple warnings for months, maybe years, that he needs to change his ways, that she's unhappy, that this could be a deal breaker, and he literally does not change until she's done, she is completely moved on in her mind, and her foot is out the door, she's packing the stuff, and then all of a sudden he wants to go to therapy and he wants to change. Okay, you're in the hot seat. You're in the hot seat. How do you answer for yourself and your gender?
In relationship to that, I would say that it's based on delusion, right? I know we've hit a lot of topics between our conversations that we've had on here in relationship to how men look at things and such. And I think men really get delusional in how they look at the relationship. I think men don't always value that what they have and what they could lose. And so there's so many times in relationships, marriages, where men will kind of take for granted what they have in front of them, and they will, you'll go through the same argument over and over and over again, and so you kind of push it aside, saying, well, nothing happened, from that argument, so I'm going to keep doing what I need to do instead of changing the behavior. And I think what happens towards the end, once a woman will give you chance after chance after chance, and and then there becomes a point where she's just done with it, and she's not going to tolerate it anymore, and she basically gives you that ultimatum of, hey, either you change or this is it, I'm done, I'm finally done with this and stuff. And I think a man gets to a point where he then realizes he can't be alone. He doesn't want to. He realizes, now I'm going to have to face everything by myself. I'm going to have to do my own, laundry. I'm going to have to take care of the kids by myself. I'm going to have to find a way to entertain myself. I'm going to have to...
So, whoa. So what you're saying is that men will change their ways because they don't want to be alone? What about, do they love their woman? Do they love their partner? Are they upset that she's not happy?
I think you have to look at the relationship, right? I think it depends on what the feelings are and stuff. I think that sometimes men, yes, they do love their partner and they do care about their partner, but they don't know how to really get in touch with their own vulnerability. And so they're not willing to dive into that until they're actually faced with that ultimatum of being gone, right? So they're not willing to put in that time and work and effort. And so they will keep pushing it down until...
Putting it off and living in delusion.
Right, and putting it off and living in the delusion,
living
like
in
you just
delusion.
said, until they're faced with it. And then they're required to do it at some point, or not do it and lose it, right? And so I think it takes a strong man to actually face it and say, hey, I'm not okay with this. I don't want to lose this. She's too important in my life to not want to change myself and not want to make major changes in order to keep her in my life.
You said earlier that it was basically a man will change after he's lost relationships and he's learned from relationships that he can't stretch it out that far and be in delusion, that he actually has to do the hard work and face it.
Yeah, I agree with that at that point. Yes. Sometimes it takes you losing it, right? Sometimes it takes you to lose it to really understand what you have lost and what you truly need in your life, right? And so you have to do that work after past relationships. And if you want to manifest and bring that back into your life at some point, then you need to actually face your own traumas and fears related to that, and realize that pattern is going to stay a pattern. You're going to continue to go down that same road, and relationship after relationship is going to be the same. You're going to be faced with it over and over again because you haven't done the work in order to fix that and to come more into it. So I think it's important to self-evaluate and continue to be authentic with you and dive into those feelings and be ready to call on that person that is right for you. And then when you do, then the value of that person rises, right? Like,
Okay, because yeah, we were talking earlier about, you said one of the reasons why men don't change is because they're not fully invested in the relationship.
correct. I really believe that too. Like I think that in order to be totally vested, then you have to be basically, like we've talked in the past, obsessed with that person, right? You have to want to do things for that person. You have to put that person above your own needs. You know, you can't be selfish in your own thoughts. It can't be, well, I don't want to do that because I don't want to do that, right? You have to want to grow and be the best version of yourself for that person. And until you get to that level of self-awareness, then it just doesn't happen. Men just don't want to push forward into their feelings enough. You know, society's dictated for so long that you have to be strong, and that vulnerability is that weakness that they're not really willing to dive into it. It's a scaredness, it's a fear, it's not feeling like you're a masculine man in those moments.
Yeah, and we were saying like even men that are married for long periods of time, that have kids with a woman, if they're not fully invested in that marriage, they will never change for you and they will not do the requisite healing to make you happy. And that's unfortunate because you're a family man and you're the head of a family and you have a wife and children, but it remains true even in marriage. It's the same in dating. If he's not invested in you, sis, he will not do the requisite work to be worthy of you and to be healthy enough to make you happy and to meet your emotional needs. And that's just the way the cookie crumbles.
Yeah, I agree with that. You know, it's all about the investment and how he views the relationship. You know, and whether he is in the relationship more because he thinks he's supposed to be married and he's supposed to have children, and that's, you know, like I said, society dictates what we are as a couples and what we're supposed to be doing in our lives. Or is he in it because he loves that woman and that he cares about her and that he's willing to do whatever it takes to be in that relationship? So,
Yeah.
but I think that takes maturity. That takes growth and like I said, self-awareness to look at not fitting that stereotypical idea of what a man should be, but more of be in touch with who you are so that you can be more in touch with her feelings so that you can come together in a more of a divine union.
That's what a divine masculine is. I mean, people ask us questions all the time and they're like, oh, are you guys twin flames union? No. A divine masculine is just a man that is willing to face his shadow and is doing shadow work, is doing his own personal healing work. That is all a divine masculine is, and that's all a divine feminine is. So I think, to your point, you want a divine masculine because that's a man that's willing to look at his shadow, that has done his work, and can therefore meet you where you require him to level up.
Yeah, very much. And I think it's the easy way is always to walk away, right? It's always easier to not face things and not deal with your own personal traumas and stuff. But I know that for me personally, it wasn't until I totally dove into things and realized all my past, you know, going all the way back to childhood with different things and traumas and how those different things would trigger me in a relationship, and realizing that I think the biggest tool that I have now is that I can see things unfolding in front of me now. You know, I can recognize, I can own things, I can accept them for what they are, and then change that pattern and change that because of how important it is for me to have a good relationship and be in this healthy relationship that we have.
You're no longer living in delusion.
Correct. Yeah, not at all. Like I don't look anything but what it is, you know, and be in the true form and be my authentic self, you know, so that's what I'm presenting always.